If you were to earn $1 per second, it would take you 11 days to become a millionaire. But to make 1 billion, you would need over 31 years. Now, if you have accumulated $1 million throughout your lifetime, it is obvious that the decision to buy a car worth $100,000 would be very carefully considered, as it would mean exchanging 1/10 of your lifetime for a single asset. But what if that same car only cost you $10,000? How long would it take for you to make the decision to buy it? It wouldn't be a big deal, since with $1 million in a well-conservative investment, you would already make $10,000 per month without doing anything. That is the difference between the life of a millionaire and a billionaire. Elon Musk, one of the richest men, has 341 times that value. And you? Well, you are within the global statistics. Wealth, freedom, and financial peace seem like a distant dream, right? You've spent your whole life believing that wealth is something only destined for a few lucky people. What if I told you that you were wrong? What if in the end, the fruit of your labor was able to bring you prosperity without much difficulty? What if I told you that this is a reality? Well, at least it should be, but there is a dark force preventing you from accumulating wealth, and that is what I will unmask in this video. But the question you should ask yourself is, if there is something stronger than me preventing me from prospering, does that mean I am a mere slave? And if someone enslaves me, is there a way to escape from this prison? You didn't click on this video by chance, and if you continue with me on this journey, there is a chance to break free. But be quick, because this loophole in the system is closing. It seems like money will come into your life and immediately leave as soon as you have it, which puts you in a vulnerable position. A vulnerability that brings you even closer to schemes for quick enrichment or a guru telling you that you can get rich just by buying their endless courses. I understand that our perceptions of money are sometimes more crucial than our ability to generate it, especially when our brains are programmed in such a way that it prevents us from being financially sensible. It doesn't matter if you're earning more than 6 figures a year if you have nothing left at the end of the year. Where's the mistake? It's time to unravel this mystery. And not only that, let's explore a way to better understand money. A way that is taught in personal finance, but is often lost in formal education. What is money? Or rather, what does money represent? When you make an online purchase or get paid for your time at work, what is the importance of money in all of these transactions? Money is commonly defined as a medium of exchange, an instrument used to facilitate the sale, purchase, or exchange of goods between individuals. But that doesn't say much about what money represents. In fact, the best way to view money is as an expression of value. When making a purchase, you hand over a certain amount of money to someone else because the item being purchased is perceived by you as being more valuable than that amount of money. Otherwise, you wouldn't make that exchange, and of course, the price is not determined by you as an individual, but rather by the market as a whole. But hold on to one thing, money equals value. Why is this so important? Because by understanding money as an expression of value, it becomes very clear that accumulating wealth does not happen based on randomness. The amount of money that society delivers into your hands is equivalent to the amount of value that people perceive you are generating in the world. But money will always come into your life and then go away. This is a relationship expressed by your revenues and your expenses. A very practical way to simplify this relationship is your production versus your consumption. Most of the time, money will come into your life because you were able to produce some form of value, and for most of us, revenue will be generated by the value we produce in a job. But this same money will go away every time you consume something. An ice cream, a new cell phone, a car. Regardless of who you are, your wealth will be translated by the relationship between what you consume and how much you are able to produce. The only reason humanity has become so advanced is that we have discovered a sophisticated and intelligent way to store value. The piece of paper or the number of your bank account that you call money is actually a technological expression of value storage. If you go back far enough in a time machine, you will discover that our ancestors bought things using a method unrecognizable to modern times. Payments were made in the form of bartering, a direct exchange of one good for another. a dozen eggs for some tomatoes, a chicken for a chair, and so on. But this system had two major problems. It depended on someone else wanting something that you had, and if you had a chicken, you couldn't trade it for 2 eggs since the chicken was worth more than the eggs and was not divisible. So our ancestors realized they needed something intermediate that represented value. They initially tried to make trades with various items. Bags of barley grains, cattle, salt, and even shells, but all of them solved some problem and at the same time created even bigger ones. After all, there is no limited amount of shells, and they are not rare. This means that you could spend the whole day on the beach collecting shells without generating any value, and remember, money equals produced value. If something cannot represent production, it cannot represent consumption either. And I haven't even talked about the problems of other failed attempts. Besides taking up a lot of space, cattle die, salt is lost, and grains spoil. So after a long time, they finally found something that had all the necessary characteristics to express value, well, almost all. The real value of gold was discovered. It was durable, hard to counterfeit, easily divisible, and most importantly, scarce. Hold on to this characteristic because it will be very important for you to understand how you are being enslaved and deprived of accumulating wealth. But there was still a problem to be solved. Gold is heavy, and this made it very difficult to transport large amounts from one place to another. So hundreds of years later, countries began using paper money backed by gold. In other words, the dollar was directly linked to a certain amount of stored gold, and you could theoretically exchange those dollars for physical gold at any time in proportion to what the country held in reserve. This system was known as the gold standard. This was the perfect system of value storage that would allow humanity to prosper forever. Well, at least until someone discovered that the system was not so perfect after all. But that will be the topic of our next video, so if you haven't already subscribed, subscribe now and turn on notifications so that when the new video is released, you will be the first to be notified. Sometimes the rat race is confused with working a 9-to-5 job. This is a comparison often used by certain individuals to make you feel guilty, convincing you to buy one of their courses or books. This seems extremely unfair, especially because it aims to vilify a job and excludes the fact that there are people who love what they are doing and are perfectly fine with their 9-to-5 jobs. The real rat race is the one that lives on the financial edge, constantly being one paycheck away from going bankrupt, with the feeling that as soon as money comes into your life, it immediately disappears. And the more responsibilities you have, the more dangerous it becomes. The loss of a job, an unexpected health problem, or any unforeseen circumstance can put your entire financial position at risk. When considering the mental consequences of living in this financial turmoil, your job no longer becomes an option, it becomes a necessity to maintain your lifestyle or continue paying your debts. At this point in the video, it's worth mentioning something: the things you own end up owning you. But it doesn't have to continue this way. The first step in personal finance is to become aware of your relationship with money. In this category, we will put your expenses such as your house, car, food, utilities, entertainment, and so on. This is about you becoming aware as a consumer. But that's the hard part. In behavioral finance, this effect can be labeled as the ostrich effect, our tendency to want to avoid negative financial information. It's the feeling you have when you refuse to look at your bank account after a night out, fearing how much you may have spent. However, after going through this stage, it's time for you to take control of your consumer behavior. This usually involves the idea of creating a budget, defining each month how much you intend to spend in each category. It's about systematically observing what you consume and finding ways to minimize these things. You should aim to live below your means. In other words, have a lifestyle that still leaves you with enough money to save and invest in one way or another. It's also important to note that before deciding to invest, one of the most important practices in personal finance is to have an emergency fund. A specific amount of savings that you will keep in case of an emergency. This fund would typically keep 3 to 6 months of expenses paid. However, the idea of living below your means is very important. Why would we choose to live a lifestyle we can't afford or that would put us in a bad financial situation? The ostrich effect is just one of the things that can affect your financial position. There is also hyperbolic discounting, a tendency to favor short-term rewards over larger rewards in the future. This means you are choosing to buy a new pair of shoes instead of directing that money towards a future investment. Or social proof, our tendency to think and act like the people around us. When the people around you are buying something, you also buy. Or when the people around you consider money a bad thing, you are likely to think the same thing. The phrase "keeping up with the Joneses" sums up this big consumption problem. This is a phrase defined by Google as trying to imitate, or not be surpassed by, neighbors. They buy a new car, you buy one too. They buy expensive clothes, you buy them too. They renovate their homes, you renovate yours too. You do everything to try to impress or keep up with others, due to some form of social pressure. However, in today's world, the Joneses are not literal neighbors, they are much more present. To be clear, I'm not saying that buying expensive clothing or a car is bad. The goal of this video is not to philosophize about the repercussions of a materialistic view of the world, but rather to draw attention to who you are as a consumer. Do you care more about appearing to have money or actually having money? The rat race is not working a 9-to-5 job. The rat race is living life on a limit that means you are chasing the next thing, whether it be a payment or a material possession. It's about putting your biggest life goals and dreams on the back burner to continue this crazy race. Setting a budget and tracking your expenses has proven time and time again to work and can help you get out of this race. With all that being said, let's now talk about how to make money. The personal finance channels that exist here on YouTube are great for learning how to work on our consumption side of the equation. But if there's one thing I wish they talked about more, it's how they make money. I understand why they don't do it. It's easier to reduce your expenses to match what you consume than it is to grow your income. When speaking to a mass audience and giving advice that would work for most people, that is certainly the best choice. We can see that there are thousands of communities being formed around the subject of saving. They use the strategy of living frugally and investing as early as possible, with the intention of retiring as soon as possible. These channels teach us how to save money, but let's be honest, they don't rely on cutting expenses to live an amazing lifestyle. These people are using mass production methods. The most impactful way to increase your value is to find a problem in the market, create a solution to that problem, and sell that solution to the market at scale. This is the path to successful entrepreneurship. A successful business at scale is capable of producing a large amount of value for a society such that the productive side of the equation grows exponentially compared to the standard model. But this is not a path that everyone can follow, and perhaps they shouldn't even try. It's about reflecting on your own abilities and deciding if entrepreneurship is the best path for you to follow. That being said, increasing your production doesn't have to come from the written definition of a business. Some finance channels use YouTube to produce something, in this case, videos about investments and personal finance on a large scale. It's one of the reasons why I decided to create videos for YouTube. It's also a vehicle through which I can produce something, in this case, animated videos about financial education on a large scale. Producing is providing value to the market in some way. Your form of production can be developing an app, a food brand, or even a YouTube channel. For most people, a job in the form of a standard 9-to-5 job will be their means of production, but that doesn't mean their ability to produce stops there. Being a producer means understanding the ways in which you can provide value to the market. If you can produce value on a large scale, it means making money on a large scale. Fortunately, the internet has provided us with the opportunity to produce whatever we want on a large scale. Well, that was today's video. I hope this video has added value to your life. And if you want to understand more about money and how it has been acting in different ways in our lives, you can't miss the next video. It's incredibly insane and will open your mind in an astonishing way. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe now and share this video with someone who is important to you and needs to learn more about how to deal with their own money. Thank you for your attention, my friends. Big hug and see you in the next video.